All systems go. Cleared for takeoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, and we're back for the final PGA Tour show of the season. We've got the Tour Championship, as always, out at Eastlake. Got my guy Hoop with me. We'll be talking about this, going through, breaking down everything for you as expected. We'll go through all the tiers, break down, talk through some of the ownership, projections, how they're shaking out, what the lineup construction looks like, all the stuff with the starting strokes, the breakdown, the exposures, all that things that you guys want to normally hear. We'll look at the weather quickly as well. We'll talk through some more of that. But Hoop, I'll bring you in, man. Final PGA show of the season. We said we'd stick through it to the end. Going to talk through it here for this one. What are your thoughts on this fine Tuesday afternoon, my friend?
Yeah, a little bit different of a format, obviously, with the starting strokes. And you see some of these price tags that are a little bit elevated. We have the $13,000 range. But obviously, that's because these guys are starting, Scotty Scheffler starting 10 under. So he has a huge advantage versus some of the rest of the field. So it adds a different wrinkle in terms of roster construction this week, which we'll talk about. And then we have the lower price tags back too. So we have like Nick Taylor's all the way down at $5K flat. So it's a little bit different. The way you formulate teams, obviously a little bit different. And then you only have 30 guys this week as well. So I think it's a good entertainment week. And that's what I'm going to start calling these weeks where, I don't know how big the edge is, I'll be honest with you, in terms of, DFS this week. So I think it should be an entertainment week unless you have the winning strategy for this sort of format. Then obviously maybe go a little deeper. But, I'm playing it just to kind of have some fun this week. So I can follow along with it. I think there is, some sort of advantage, built in there. And we're going to dive through it and see what we can find in our content. Obviously, we'll all start coming out tomorrow morning and we're going to, do our best to see what we can find in terms of the winners here. But it's a challenging week for DFS. But as we always say, the prize pool is very big around the industry. So, it'll be a fun week, entertainment week, like I said.
Yeah, lots to still, make of it, like you said. And again, we'll talk through some of the questions people are asking already in the chat and just break it all down. But definitely still big prize pools, still a lot of money up top. There is strategy to it, and that a lot of people are just going to play the same guys. You can already see it with those, what you would call quote unquote scrubs at the bottom. That low price tier is back. They all start, basically everybody this week, 7,900 and below is starting at even, -1 or -2. Everybody from 9,000 and below is no better than 3 under. So all these guys are just going to be firing away. You can see from the ownership out there now, we have it up over at SHIPITNation.com. If you're not a member, we'll talk more on that in a second. Obviously, NFL just around the corner, and we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things that are running out too. So your time is running out. No more time for procrastination. Time to join SHIPIT Nation. That's the key. So we'll talk through the pricing here in a second, but just to break the pricing down for us and with the site this week on DraftKings, but just to say it, Hoop, like it looks like from Tyrrell Hatton at 6,900 right down to Nick Taylor. You might get guys like Nick Taylor and Taylor Moore, a couple of Taylors there that come in a little lower on, but they're still double digits. It's not really about that as much as overall roster construction. What's the rest of the field doing? Pretty much everyone is landing in this zone because it's pretty clear the guys with the advantage, the Schefflers, the Rorys, the Rahms, the Hovlands, those guys, they're going to be in the mix some way, shape, or form. The trends show it with the starting strokes, even over 4 days. Like, yes, last year, I think Rory shot he had like a really bad first hole, then came back, and he had started, I believe, 4 under on the week and came back and won it.
4 under to start,
yeah, and then so that just shows it can be done, and it can definitely happen here again, and that makes you think about it. There's spots where people are talking about, like, if Scotty doesn't make a bunch of birdies but still wins, is he even on the optimal? There's a strategy around that. So we'll go through all of that. But before we do, I want to share just a little because we've talked about this plenty in the past. That's what we're here for, still breaking it down for you guys free. Obviously, first off, we've talked about our pricing, the Blast Off bundle. So this is something to clarify, and I do want to go through this. It shows on the screen now. Blast Off bundle is $321. It's 6 months, and it's everything we offer. It's not NFL bundle. It's every sport we offer on the site, which I'll get to in a second, but it's everything included that we offer. So the content, the projections, the tools, the Discord access with the community, the education course, which I'll pull up as well. Some people were asking about this today. I posted on Twitter yesterday, DraftKings made the King of the Beach and the Fantasy Football World Championship live on the site. You're starting to see all the satellites and the qualifiers are in the lobbies for the Detroit-Kansas City game on Thursday Night Football to kick things off. And then, of course, for week 1 on Sunday, the busiest day. But we have a 4-hour NFL DFS process course. You can take it at your own leisure. You can buy it just to watch and get in on the membership just to get this for free so that you can just hop in and see the live final segment if you want. I'll go through all that more in a second. But just to note, I do want to clarify some of this stuff, Hoop. So I'm going to bring it up here now. I'm going to go to the screen share. So let's pull this one off. Let's go to our screen share overlay. So we've got it there. And I want to clarify this first. We're getting all out of the way early for you guys. It's a free show. You can skip past whatever you want to do. We don't care. We do everything for free as far as the shows are concerned. So this is our time to shine and go through this. And a lot of people are interested with NFL just around the corner. So 2 things. First off, Hoop, and for everybody watching, we have monthly plans and we have an annual plan. The Blast Off bundle, and that's why you'll see it right on our site, going through it, it is an offer that expires on September 11th. We brought this in so that anybody that signs up now for the Blast Off bundle would be able to get their membership at least through to the Super Bowl. When we launched this on August 11th through February 11th, the 6-month frame, it was guaranteeing you would get through to Super Bowl. You still got all the other stuff you can see here. MLB with our projections and ownership, GPP, cash course, slate plans, stack rankings, hitter rankings, pitcher rankings, all the starting lineups and advanced starting lineups where you can go through and actually break down and see some of the more advanced stats that can help you find unique stacks. We've got the projections for all the sports listed and the ones coming with NBA, NHL, and NFL just around the corner. PGA, we've got your projections and ownership, your core report, player pool, slate plan, tier rankings, and then we cover Showdown as well, all the MMA stuff, all the NFL that's coming, all the NBA, and there's a lot more missing for NFL, NBA, and then we also have NHL, plus the education and some merch around the corner. We have an affiliate program you can join up to. So we have a lot going on at the Nation. But to clarify something quick, the monthly price right now is $59 a month. Showing you now everything we offer, that includes all of it within the one price. So just to note that $59 a month is going to $69. We've said this from literally day one. And the reason it's going up $10 is because when we add NFL, NBA, and NHL, we finally feel comfortable going to that. We actually said we were going to this a month and a half ago, and we just didn't do it. We kept it on. So to note that the price increase starts on this. This will make it better for anyone who got in at $59, knowing they got the lower price, and anybody that got in from day one. The annual bundle also will increase to the $6.99, which right now at $5.99, that works out to $49 a month. So it's the best value that you can get. The Blast Off bundle works out to $53.50 a month. All of these prices will lock in for life, but this offer will go away on September 11th. So I couldn't be more clear on this. I think that's the first part. And Hoop, I'll let you jump in a second. But really quickly, the behind the scenes of the education course, this is also something to note. Take that back. Oh, you took me off.
All right. Sorry. All right. You're back in there. Go for it.
Yeah, I want to give just a full clear on this as well. And we posted it. We've been transparent about everything that we do. People will watch this on playback and may wonder, we put it here. In the future, we may charge for this course. We don't care if you buy it or not. We know it's good. The members and the testimonials on the site, you can see testimonials right here, are all great. Go check them out. Those are free to watch. But just to note, this will go to $59 on September 11th because it's all the stuff that we actually wouldn't usually put out there. I put out 90% of what I do for free. Hoop is the same. This example, though, I use this on Twitter today just to show you guys. If you look here, the live finals and qualifiers segment, if you're curious about having success in these or getting to these live finals this year in football, you can go back up. I'm behind the scenes. I'm in the members only version. The whole course is split out so that you can actually just skip ahead. If you don't care about the other stuff, like it's all right here, but you can see live final starts at 1 hour and 36 minutes and goes till 2 hours and 5 minutes, where I then break down my actual lineup. So just to show you guys quick, you can go into here, click live finals. It will bring it up to the segment where we break it all down. And then you can also go to Tambo's live final reviews and go here to where I break down everything about winning the $150K at the King of the Beach in 2021. I break down some mistakes I made in the Fantasy Football World Championship from last year. So again, this course is completely free to anybody that signs up right now, that joins the Nation, gets in on the monthly, the Blast Off bundle, or the annual. Now, Hoop, you can cut me out and take over. Anything you want to add before we get into the golf?
It was a lot. You covered almost all the areas that I could conceivably think of. I will just add on a couple more things in terms of the NFL product. I know you touched on it very quickly, but we should have some announcements in terms of that because we have a few things that aren't listed on the website that will be added as additional content pieces, which, if you watch the NFL launch show, we kind of talked about it. It's something different in the industry and something we're very excited about. And then in terms of like waiting until next week, there's really no reason to wait. Now is the time literally to sign up. These deals are going to go away. Get signed up, get in the Discord. The Discord community is literally, you've been in a lot of Discords. I've been in a lot of Discords. It is not toxic at all. It's a good environment, people helping each other, just nice, kind people, to be honest with you. Have not had like any issues where we got to like kick people out or ban people or mute people or refund people because they're saying stupid shit in there. It just has not happened. And I think we can, kind of credit that to just the community feel that we built, and everyone is having a good time in that Discord. A lot of respect, mutual respect for everyone around in that Discord. And then the content for NFL, I'm just very excited for NFL to start. It's going to be here before, literally we're like 2 weeks away from that first showdown game between the Lions and the Chiefs. And I could not be more excited. The price tag is the cheapest all-in price in the industry when you start looking around. So, we're very excited about it, very confident that we can, not only provide you with the content you need to be successful, but to also make you a better player yourself, where you're not as dependent on the content. So definitely, give us a try. We're very, very excited for NFL to kick off here.
Yeah, and Jack says the two best DFS community education. We keep hearing this, like the course alone is worth the money. People say that. The MMA content alone, where we've just been smashing the last 3 weeks. Our guy, Hebrew Cheetah, Rio, he won the main slate back-to-back weeks using Title and Marley's content. And then last week, we had another member come second in the main 555. Like, again, the content for that is great, but there's also projections, ownership, fight rankings, all that stuff. But people just say this for every single thing. Justin, who's a member, Showdown, I've been smashing. The course is not downloadable. That will be the thing, though, Justin, when we move it to the $59 price point for someone who just wants to buy the course. And I'll tell you why, because what happens is I'll have a big hit or something, and someone will say, can you teach me your process? Can you teach me to play? I don't necessarily have the time to go through one-on-one and teach every single player. But if someone said, I want to just learn your process, well, you can get Hoop and my process just by downloading the course for $59. So that's where that'll be. But right now, anybody who is in from day one and anybody who signs up before September 11th will get that course for free. We'll talk more about it throughout the show. Hoop, let's dive into this. We talked a little bit about the strategy. I mean, it's almost like a round 4 showdown in a way. I know people say that's not the comparison, but just to note, they do start with the starting points, right? Now, obviously, those go away the minute they pop them down, but just, if they fall down the leaderboard, they're going to lose those finishing position points, but they are starting with them. So just from a strategy perspective, any certain ways you're attacking that? Like, I do think a lot of people will just build based on having the best lineup up the leaderboard, kind of like how we see it in round 4, when you forget sometimes we just live in a bubble. We're saying this, but others out there are just building whatever lineup looks really good on paper for those starting angles.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, you kind of have to implement the round 4 showdown strategy, but really it's round 4 times 4 essentially, because they're starting, but they still have 4 rounds to make up all this ground. So really, you're looking for people that you think can move up the leaderboard. Essentially, those are going to be the best scorers on this slate. If someone's starting at even, tied for whatever it is, like 26, and they end up in 12th place, they're going to put up a big score, and those guys have a chance to really outscore guys that are starting above them. So if someone falls backwards, these guys that move way up are going to end up outscoring them by, probably quite a bit. So looking for guys, obviously, that can just make birdies, guys that can move up the leaderboard. And then you definitely want some win equity as well. And you really look at it, there's not a ton of guys that have a chance to win this thing just because of the starting strokes. You look at the Vegas odds, Scotty Scheffler is, basically almost even money to win this thing. He's plus 140. Rory is plus 330. Victor Hovland plus 500. And then, John Rahm plus 800. So there's not a lot of guys that could potentially go out and win this. So, for me, I would probably maybe look to set a rule where, okay, I think these 6 guys can win this event. These are the 6 that I think can win it. I want at least maybe 1 or 2 of those guys in every lineup. And then, you maybe come down and look at some of the cheap guys. What's going to happen here naturally, and you can see it in the ownership, is the middle range of guys is going to be overlooked, and, lower owned guys like 7.9K to, maybe like 7.2K. Those guys are going to kind of go overlooked because what is their win equity here? They're going to have to really play well to move up. There's not a lot of wiggle room for them. So they're just naturally going to get squeezed, which, we'll talk about when we go through it all.
Yeah. And just to note quickly on that, like you said, someone mentioned here about, I think the best way to get different is to leave salary on the table. So if your team has Hatton, take him over Taylor and hope he outscores him. That's what I'm saying. At the bottom, definitely a great strategy because like you said, they're starting at the same thing. Like Nick Taylor actually starts one stroke better, but you're not worried about the starting strokes when it's even or -1. This is over 4 days. Yeah. But to your point, can he outscore him over 4 days? Absolutely. And that just naturally makes you different, leaves that money on the table. So if that's where you're comfortable with, when you set up your optimizer, or even if you're doing it by hand, just know that's how much you can leave on there because that's what you're in your mindset. You're saying this guy can outscore this guy. There's the price break. I'm willing to allow that to happen, especially in an optimizer is where you'd set that up. But another quick note, Hoop, and I'll bring this up before we get into it, because with weather, basic stuff, it's really hot. That's all I'm seeing, though. Like, it gets hotter as the day goes on Thursday. It gets hotter as the day goes on Friday. I don't have a bunch to talk about yet. We always keep that in mind leading up to Wednesday, but just a quick note. But I did bring this up last night with my guy, Kenny Kim. Like, 30th place is $500K. These guys wanted to get to East Lake. They want to get to the Tour Championship. They want to make as much as they can. But 10th place is $1 million. And again, to everybody watching, myself, anybody, you, like whoever, it's still a ton of money. 500 to $1 million is a massive difference. But first of all, the only way they can get to the million is to go out and score. Second of all, the real money is in like the top 5 spots, right? Like 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 6.5. And then really it's top heavy, 18 million for first. And it kind of just sets up that way. And I'm not really fully against that because obviously a guy like Scotty Scheffler should probably have a better chance of winning this thing than Emiliano Grillo, who got his win and made a great season out of it and is still here making a boatload of money with an opportunity to make more. But just what I was saying is like to the point that Randy just made of like the guys moving up and just outscoring them. These guys really should just be, and I'm pretty sure they will be and always are, just firing away at pins. Like, it can go really bad. It can go really good. But what's the difference between 17th place and 700K and last place and 500K? Once they're taxed and everything else is factored in, that's nothing to these guys who are already there, who, by the way, already won millions to get in here and have sponsorships and all these other factors. So they're playing to win. They're going to fire away. You definitely want to keep that in mind when just looking at the bottom of the board. Anything else to add to Randy's point there, and we can move on to these tiers?
Yeah, no, I just add on. I agree. Like, I think this is formatted properly to reward the guys that have played well all season long, and then the grinders as well. Like you said, like a guy like Rio, a guy like Nick Taylor. These guys at the bottom that work their ass to get here. Like, they're still going to get a good chunk of change, but should they have the same opportunity to win this thing as Scotty Scheffler and Rory? Hell no. So I think it is actually formatted really well. For DFS, makes it a little more complicated, but in terms of the structure for who the best guy is for the season, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I will just add to that point, and then we'll jump in. But besides the fact of the win equity up top, like one of those guys are so likely to win that you'll probably want them in there. I actually just, think from the other angle, just from a strategy perspective down low, like be willing to just go wherever. Like in the sense, not say play everyone like someone had mentioned earlier, but I definitely will take way more shots. Like, for example, right now I'm seeing Tyrrell Hatton and Jordan Spieth coming in around 30% ownership in this field. And I get it because they're 69 and 6,700. They're the cheapest you'll ever see them with this field. But can Jason Day, can Tony Finau, can Siwoo, can Taylor Moore, can Sam Burns, or Sam Burns pretty popular as well. But can some of these other guys outscore them in this event? Absolutely. There's no guarantee just because they're that priced they score well. So I just think that's where I'm willing to take a lot more chances down low. Up top, you kind of said it, Hoop. Scotty's like 50-50 to win this thing almost. So he's going to be something to be a decision around. But for the rest of the guys down low, I just don't think there is any set in stone, got to play this guy because he's so cheap, when it's anybody can just be firing away and outscore them over 4 days. So just keep that in mind when you're building out. We'll take some more questions as we go along. You guys throw them in there. I did see one more, and this is just standard. Yeah, a lot of people playing 150 max will just use all 30 players. Will you be different using 2025? Not that different. I mean, some of those 150 maxes will do the same. It's more of where do you take your stance and what does your roster construction look like versus the field. To Hoop's point earlier, and to the ownership where it's going right now, the scrubs, if you will, 6,900 and below, down to Nick Taylor at 5K, are all pretty popular. It looks like Taylor Moore, Nick Taylor, maybe Jason Day at 7,400, kind of the guys that are coming in a little less right now. But again, we'll see how that shakes out over the next day and a half or whatever it is till we get started. But Hoop, let's dive in, man. Let's go to the top. Scotty Scheffler. Let's go down to, let's go Xander Schauffele, 10-5 up. And Matt Fitzpatrick's there if you want to comment on him. He's still 5 figures. I just don't mind blending it because it's really more strategy than it is this player because this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Scotty Scheffler starting at 10, what is he, 10 under, okay? He's 13-4. Is probably, I mean, him and Rory have been the 2 best guys this season overall. I mean, you know the story of Scotty Scheffler. I mean, it just comes down to the putting. Can he make putts? You know, I'd have a hard time playing the slate, especially, you know, I'll probably end up building 150 teams, like not taking a strong position on Scotty Scheffler. It's easy to play him. You still have 7,300. If you plug in one 5K guy, you're back up to like around 8K for your remaining spots. I'm going to have a lot of him. I'll have a lot of Rory as well. I mean, he's played really, really well at this golf course. He knows it. He's had a lot of success here. He came back last season. He started at 4 under, came back and won the damn thing. Interested in him. Hovland, the reason you like him is because he can just get hot. We saw it on Sunday, and he can get hot in big spots like he did. So, you know, very interested in those guys. The one spot, though, that I have some concern is Jon Rahm. Like, he has just not looked like himself recently. The results obviously have not been good. 31st last week with 50 people in the field, 37th at the FedEx St. Jude. He's spraying it off the tee, which is something you typically don't see with him. A lot of just poor shots. I don't think he can get it done at this point. I think he kind of needs like a little bit of a reset. So he's a guy that I would probably be off. And then, man, like Max Homa at 10-9, he's starting at, 4 under. Like, can he make a run like Rory did last season? I don't think so. So I just don't know if I can pay the 10-9. Patrick Cantlay is right there at 10-8. You know, maybe a little bit of interest in him. Xander, 10-5. I don't really love him. I mean, we haven't seen like a great performance from him as of late. He was 8th last week, but there was only 50 people in the field, so 8th is not great, to be honest with you. And then Matt Fitzpatrick, he was good last week, but I'll be staying off of him. So I'm just going to focus on those guys in the upper tier. Now I will have exposure to some of these guys I said I didn't like just because there's literally only 30 guys in the field. So I might need to incorporate them in my lineups a little bit just to make everything work, but I'm just going to focus on the guys up top, Scotty, Rory, Hovland. I mean, those guys are all 5-1 or better to win this event. Jon Rahm, I don't know what sort of ownership it's looking like on him. Let me just see real quick.
It's looking like he's going to be the lowest of those 4 at the top.
Yeah, I just can't see him doing it here. I mean, we've played a lot of Jon Rahm all season. You and I have been Jon Rahm backers. I don't think he can do it. And what he's going to have to probably win it to be on the optimal type team. So I'm fine staying off of him. The 3 up top, and then probably Cantlay would be my 4 favorites here.
Yeah, the only one, again, I'm a Rahm guy, and it's the end of the season, so maybe it changes later, but I'm definitely interested, especially if he's coming in the lower of those. I mean, he literally did it here 2 years ago. He's starting 2 strokes better than Rory last year. He knows the course. I mean, he's got decent history. It's, before last year, it was a 1st, 6th, 13th, 11th, 7th. I know it's only out of 30 guys, but it's good enough scores to put up. And really, I'm just playing it from the pure game theory angle of the obvious. Scotty and Rory look really damn good up top, and I'm going to have Scotty for sure. I'm not going to go away from Scotty now because Scotty does or he doesn't, right? That's the way it's going to work out, and it's pretty obvious, but that's the whole 50-50 factor. I'm just going to lean into it because at the end of the day, it's going to be what we just saw again last week where Scotty gave up what should have been another win, most likely. I know you can't take anything away from Hovland, who's right there, but the point being just another little bad stretch for him, and he could have had the job done, but we've also still been waiting for that 1 week where he just turns it on and just disappears. That's the twofold thing. In a 30-man field, they only got to beat 29 guys, and these guys have a head start, or in Rahm's case, he's very close to the top already, just 4 strokes back. So we've seen it plenty of times. He'll be firing away. Rahm is boom bust, very boom bust. He goes up or he goes down with this mentality. And if he goes down, the one bad thing, and so to kind of like to Hoop's credit here of noticing this with guys, he said about Hideki and been right a bunch of times this season. The opposite with JT, you picked some of his good rounds this season as he was going on his way down the stretch, trying to get into the playoffs. It was with Rahm, If he goes down, he goes down. Opposite of like what we used to say about Aaron Rye. If he has a good week, he usually shows up and continues over the weekend. Jon Rahm, once he goes down that board, if he falls to like 2 under or 1 under or something, even though he continues to fire away, he's pissed off now. It doesn't really mean as much to him. He's lost his chance at the 18 million bucks is kind of how he seems to feel. You just watch him out there, and then really it's hard to get it back. And we know this. So that's the one thing about him, but that's kind of why I like it for this format. We know Scotty and Rory are going to be popular. Hovland after last week's win for good reason, but Rahm is 11-6. That's quite the discount. And if you want some of those lineups that get away from the Hatton, Spieth, Burns plays at the bottom, maybe you just pick one or something. You don't have to get multiples. That's the way to do it, is to move further down the board where you can save money, yet still feel comfortable in a what-if scenario. And for that, for me, is could Rahm win this at 6 under starting? Yes, he can, in my opinion. So, the books won't have him fully there, but he'll be more win equity than a lot of the guys below him. So just keep that in mind when rolling throughout. I like Scotty as well in this upper range. Cantlay, X, kind of deciding there. I think I just kind of, again, have to play the game theory angle myself and just play Cantlay there, Hoop, because obviously Xander is the best there ever was at this course. You go look at him, 6th, 3rd, 1st, 2nd, 7th, 1st, and the 3rd, by the way, I believe was the first year they moved it to starting strokes maybe, and he ended up actually winning the without starting strokes leaderboard that year. So he actually did put up the win, but it doesn't count because they still had the guy with the starting strokes get there slightly. So just to note, obviously Xander's an incredible play. I'm not going to go off him completely, but I would say the guys with me like Scotty, Rahm, Cantlay, and then I think obviously X and Rory are sort of the secondaries, but they just have such high ownership that it makes it tough. Homa, Fitzpatrick, the guys I would have the least interest in up at the top. Anything further to add there, Hoop? If not, we can hop down into this 9,700 down to 8,100. Let's do Keegan Bradley up to Lucas Glover. This range, by the way, going pretty overlooked besides maybe Fleetwood, Henley, and then, of course, Sungjae being popular down in this range.
Yeah, I mean, so Lucas Glover, I thought he played pretty well last week overall. I mean, he finished 22nd. Yeah, he did end up missing some putts. I mean, the putter obviously was on fire coming into that back-to-back wins. I just don't think I can get there at 9-7 this week in this field. I mean, he's starting so he's starting at 5 under, the only guy at 5 under. I wouldn't be surprised if he fell back a little bit. I mean, he's had a hell of a run. I mean, the 2 wins are just massive. I'm not getting there this week. I'm also not getting to Brian Harman at 9-5. Harman starting at 4 under. I know he was good last week, finished T5. That's fine. If you want to do that, go for it. I'm not really getting there with my teams. I'd just much rather save money, or actually saving a decent chunk from Harman going down to like Wyndham Clark. It's another $400. That can get me from essentially Hovland up to Rory or something if I want to do that. So this is where I start to like the guys a little bit more. Clark, Fleetwood for sure at 8-8. I think he's a totally fine option. Up and down last week, never was really there in contention, finished in the middle of the field. Ricky kind of bounced back a little bit last week with I guess T25, but one bad round. Outside of that, he was pretty solid. Moderate interest there. Sungjae, like you said, I'm cool with that. Henley, going to keep riding the heater. I mean, we've been on Henley for a while. I know you have, and I have as well. And the results have been very, very good. I'm just not getting off at this point. And then Keegan Bradley at 8,100. Moderate interest. I mean, results have not been really good for him, to be honest. We were both, I know you were high on him last week. I was also high on him last week. Did not work out all that well. I'll go back to him, though, in this field. So for me, it's going to be, Wyndham, Fleetwood, Henley, probably my favorites. Not really going to get to those guys up top all that much, I don't think. Like Glover, Harman, not a ton of interest there for me. I'm guessing they're probably not coming with much ownership. So if you do like them, it'll be easy to get pretty over the field. But it's kind of where I'm at here in this range.
Yeah, I have a lot of these guys in this range pretty equal, actually. And it's just because it's going overlooked and the fact that they're all going to come in like 13 to 20%, somewhere in there or in there or in there or in there or.
All right, Tambo fell off, so you get Hoop. Not sure what happened. You get Hoop by yourself here for a few. No memory card. All right, we're just gonna go to the solo shot here, and we'll continue on. Hit these. Let's see. Boom, boom. All right, so you get me solo. All right, well Tambo gets back in here. I mean this range. Just to reiterate, I mean not much Glover, Harman for me. Those are big boy prices, and you get a nice discount when you come off of them. If you like Wyndham Clark over those guys, you're saving $600 from Glover to Clark, saving $400 going from Harmon to Clark, and even the discounts get better the lower you go. Obviously, got Fleetwood at 8.8, Sungjae at 8.5, and then Henley at 8.3. I mean, Henley been playing phenomenal. It looks like our guy's back in action. Tambo,
I think so.
All right, you're back. All right. I just kind of reiterated that range. So, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I was going to go over it. What happened was, I'm not sure why, but I was saying our chat's not working in our breakdown here, but I was just going to mention it because Westy brought it up. He said that about Scotty losing almost 12 strokes putting on this course in 12 rounds when his putting wasn't a disaster, and now it is. Does that temper? I never care about that. Like, if he doesn't show up because of that, what I care about is this week, this slate, what's in front of me. If he has another bad putting week, it'll just be the same what he's done all year. Like,
it's the same. And the one thing you know for sure, he's going to have opportunities to score. I mean, he's the best tee to green player, like by a wide margin. So if he sucks at putting again, we're used to it at this point. And he's like finishing way up the field by sucking all season.
Yeah, and I'll definitely have lineups without Scotty, but again, it won't be because of that. It's not like I'm not factoring in because of his putting over those years and now he sucks or whatever. It's more of just if he's, if it's a situation like last year, if it's a situation where he's more stagnant and then other guys go out and score. I guess that's my thing. And now to go to this range so I can actually reiterate what I was saying was, I'm not sure how much you guys caught of it, was like Glover, Harmon, Clark, Fowler, pretty much that setup. Those guys are all like 13 to 15%. Then you get Fleetwood, Sungjae, Henley somewhere in that 20 to 25% range. I have them all very similar based on skill set, starting position, they're all going to be firing away. The one thing I said yesterday, and I don't love this guy, and I don't think many else will either, and because of the price tag, kind of makes it worse, but Lucas Glover at 9,700 is awesome for tournaments this week. He's boom bust. When his putter was off last week, it's been his best weapon, though it's what got him here in the first place. If he can find that, here's the thing about Lucas Glover. I gave this example earlier. He's a guy that I would want based on firing away. There's no way to protect the $3 million that he's starting at, right? Like I think he's starting in fifth here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so he's starting at $3 million. But the fluctuation, he's got the real chance to change it, and he needs to prove himself big. I know others will say he doesn't. It's not going to be a Ryder Cup conversation that we're going to continue with here, but this is his last chance to push for the Ryder Cup kind of and show that, he deserves the spot. He really has to go all in here. And that's back to my thought on Rahm, how I usually am about Homa, the guys like Thigala, the boom bust guys that you kind of want where their upside is a win or going after it. Like if Glover gets firing away and that putter gets hot, you could see him on day one be within a stroke or something. He's 5 under. Like he could easily get to 9 under and the other guys stay stagnant, or maybe they're up to 12. He's only a few back. My point is, he's not going to be a guy that you can count out in a setup like this. He also really has nothing to lose. He already has 2 wins. He's already proven himself. He just got the job done late in the season. He's got to be filled with confidence. So I'm not usually this high on Lucas Glover. I do think people like Fowler, Fleetwood, Sungjae, Henley better than him, and that's why I'll bring it up. I think taking a guy like him is at least a little bit interesting. Same with Wyndham Clark. Nothing to lose. Boom bust. 4 under. Let's see what he does. Go out there. Stats-wise, when I pull him up, he actually ranks pretty high. Wyndham Clark over the last 24 rounds, the best putter in this contest. Solid driving distance, solid 3-putt avoidance, scoring around the green, solid. Birdies are better. Par threes that we're talking about, the long par threes, solid. Like all this stuff for Wyndham Clark stands out from a stats perspective. So I do think this overlooked area, because I don't really love Matt Fitzpatrick, the overlooked area of like Glover, Clark, Harmon, when everyone's on Fleetwood, Sungjae, Henley, at least makes me a little bit interested, again, especially these large field tournaments, trying to get into it and get after it from that perspective. I have no problem going to some of these guys, so I definitely don't mind them. And then just at the bottom, I guess Henley and Fleetwood probably my favorite, even over my usual favorite of Sungjae, just because Sungjae is going to be so popular, and he's only a stroke behind those two. It's not about the starting strokes, just about the stats and everything coming in, man. Everybody still, like with Henley and Fleetwood, it still looks better on paper across all those stats. The argument with Sungjae is his history here, playing pretty well, and especially last year where he's got his house right there in Georgia, right? So he plays a lot in the area. He's sleeping in his own bed. Again, what does that really matter for this year, this event, this time? I don't know. So I just have no problem taking on some more risk. I like that little bit of the boost of the guys Clark up to Glover, and then I'll like some more guys in a minute. Anything else in there for you, Hoop? If not, take us into the 7K range to round out this spot, and then we'll do 6K and below to round out the show.
Yeah, I think the 7K range probably gets a little overlooked, and maybe for good reason, because I mean these guys are kind of in no man's land. They still have a somewhat respectable price tag. They have no chance of winning essentially. Like no one in this range is probably going to go all the way up and win the event. Now for DFS, they don't need to win the event, but you need people that kind of move up. People are just naturally going to want to get exposure to the guys they think can win, and by doing that, you're going to have to go cheaper. So I think this range gets a little over. I'm sure Tony Finau gets some ownership here. I mean, he's a name. He's 7,500. People probably like to play him. Same with Morikawa. I think those are the two that could get some looks in this range. For me personally, I'm just going to prefer to go down lower, and those guys are going to get ownership in that lower range, which we'll talk about when we get there. But I still want guys that can make birdies. So who in this range can rack up a lot of birdies? I mean, there's solid golfers in this range. Tom Kim playing a little bit better. Corey Connors, Morikawa, Finau, Day, Siwoo Kim. Not much interest in Day for me. Kim at 7,200, not a ton of interest. I don't really like either of those guys. Finau's just been playing terrible. I mean, he's just been really, really bad. Opened up with that 74 last week and just immediately took him out of contention. Morikawa honestly has not been great either. And then Connors, he's been playing a little bit better than these other guys, finished 10th. And then Tom Kim has kind of resurged. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do in this range, to be honest with you. If I need to save money to get more win exposure, I'm fine, not playing a bunch of these guys. So I'll need to see when I go in and build teams, but I'm not overly thrilled with really anyone in this range, to be honest.
Yeah, Kawa and Tom Kim looking like the highest owned so far, even Siwoo Kim as well. So those are guys that are getting pumped up. And I guess, like you said, Finau maybe a little bit, sure, but Finau, Connors to me are still fine plays. If it's going to be those other three like Kim, Morikawa, and Siwoo, I'm still fine with like Finau, Connors. I don't know. I just think there's interest in this range because this is the other overlooked area, at least in comparison to what we're about to get into. But I will say this, I built some lineups, man, and it is really tough to build. Even if you say, okay, I'm going to try and start at Siwoo Kim, and I'm going to go Siwoo, Finau, and Morikawa, and try and stay at the bottom of the 7K range, no matter what you do, it almost feels like you still need to find someone below them to make something you actually like. So just keep that in mind when you're building out your rosters. You don't have to play them all, but that's why I think like going with one guy down low or a bunch of them is better than just doing the same build everybody else is doing with like two of them or whatever down at the bottom where it's like Hatton, Spieth, and then whatever else they land on. It just becomes sort of the same roster constructions. That's one way you can get different and then play around with that Wyndham up to Lucas Glover range and play around with this, Connors, Finau, Day range right there without Kim, Kawa, and Siwoo, because that's sort of the guys that are a little bit more popular. They're still good plays. I'm not saying don't use them. I'm saying, but play around with some builds where you get different at the bottom, because I think like we talked about at the top is pretty set in stone for who has the real chance to take this thing down, will still score, has good history, starts in a good position, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I definitely think that's the way I'll be looking to build this week. Hoop will obviously have you covered over at SHIPITNation.com. We'll have more over there when it comes to breaking it all down. But Hoop, let's get into this final range before we get out of here. Last show of the season, Tyrrell Hatton, 6,900, down to Nick Taylor, 5,000. What are you doing down in this bottom tier range? Looks like nobody will come in less than 15%, and most guys in this range will be 18 or 20 or higher.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to get exposure to the guys that actually have a chance of winning, to get the Scotty Schefflers, Rory McIlroys, Victor Hovland. The easiest way to do that is to come down here. It's no secret a lot of people are going to do it. The early ownership numbers indicate that the highest guys in this event are coming from this range. It appears that it's like Sam Burns. Are you seeing that too? Like the highest owned guy on the slate, right? And if that's the case,
I don't know if he'll end up being the highest, but we have him right now pretty high because, again, I've looked at the builds and I sort of take everything into consideration when I'm doing that. No matter what, you almost land there. So, and people don't love Taylor Moore or Grillo. Straka's interesting too, but Straka's still coming in like just underneath him. So he's kind of the $5,400 guy people are siding with, or the 5K guy, that people are siding with, but continue.
Yeah, those are the two I just don't get, to be honest with you. Like, why Sam Burns? Like, even last week, okay, he had one good round. I mean, he shot a 62 in round 3. Outside of that, he was not great. Like, I don't know. Like, if he's going to be – I'm not saying I'm going to fade him, I'm not saying I'm going to fade him by any means because I need guys down here to make everything work, but I'll take an underweight stance on him. And if Straka is the number 2 guy, I'll easily take the underweight stance on him as well and go to guys like Taylor, Adam Shank, or Griot, or even freaking Taylor Moore, who probably in this range, I'd imagine, is the lowest owned. He was awful last week. I mean, terrible, finished dead last. Hideki obviously withdrew. So he finished 49th instead of 50th, but he was terrible. I'll play him over some of these guys for sure. So, I mean, there's not going to be fades for me in this range, but there's going to be underweight stances. And if Sam Burns is the guy getting all the ownership in this range, like, I'm just not matching it. Like, if it's a huge, huge number, which it looks like it's going to be, I'm just sorry, I'm not matching it. He had one good round last week, and he's been playing like shit prior to this event. Hatton, Spieth has to get a ton of ownership, I'd imagine, at 67. But the ones that if it's Straka and Burns that are the guys down here, like, I'll make sure I get overweight on the other guys. But to me, it's like, if you're building 150, it's very hard to like full fade guys down here because you need a lot of bodies to make everything work.
Yeah, you're just going to be mix and matching down there. That's why I said, like, I'm not faulting people for playing more in their player pool if it's an example like this where they're like, look, I'm committed to whoever it is. If you're committed to Scotty and Rory and you're like, I'm in on these dudes, I'm finding as many builds with one of them, I'm looking at builds with 2 of them, like, you're trying different things with those guys and you're committing to them, then obviously you're going to have to mix and match down here, and it would make sense to. You want to try and find different outs with those guys. So I love that strategy. And even looking at it, like I said, even if I go like a day Finau with Scotty, you still almost need like a Tyrrell Hatton or like a Nick Taylor or something in there to make this work. Like, it is tough to get to with Scotty. Yeah. And I guess that would be the argument. Almost feels like it's kind of fun or better to just cheer against him and just go play Rahm and then see what that looks like in your build, because now you do have the money to move up. But even then, it's like you kind of just got to pick your guy down low. I'm just looking at some builds here. Like, if you do that, you could play like a Rahm with a Glover and a Fleetwood or something, and then not need to play those 6K guys. So there's a bunch of different ways you could do it, but hopefully this is helpful. We'll definitely have more covered. I'll be covering this in the slate plan once I dig in more and get my builds out and get things in place. We'll have our tier rankings be probably a little bit separated this week. We'll slim it down to a few less, like 2 less options. I think Hoop and I will work on that after we get off this. Hoop will have his, I think the player pool was just going to be 10 guys or something this week?
Yeah, probably top 10. Maybe I'll add in a couple more. Maybe we'll get to 12, but don't want to oversaturate it. And it's going to be, there's not a lot of options. So
right. It is what it is. That's a product of that. But then we'll also have, we've already got our projections and ownership up. So you can start looking through combos that are coming in lower owned, that go against a lot of what we just talked about. For angles you could look to go in that don't use the popular guys, you can see right in, especially if you partner with our partner, the Solver. It'll actually bring our projections and ownership right across. And then you'll see not only the projected score, but the ownership right beside it, where you can look for high projected scores with low projected ownership, or different constructions than what we just talked, what we thought would be the more popular construction. So that's going to do it for this show, guys. That's going to do it for this season here on this station for PGA shows, but we'll be back. There'll be plenty more. Last thing, shout out to our guy, Nick Mars, said just signed up. He joined the nation. So yeah, that's going to be awesome. Get in the Discord, man, right away. Get in on the course. Get started with that. Got a lot of new members signing up day after day here. So it's good for us. It's good for you. It's going to be great for everyone that you guys are going to be able to learn as much as possible. We said, like at the top, we got the course coming for free. We've got the bundle, and we do still have the giveaway. So if you are signing up for the 6-month or annual bundle, or if you are already a member at $59 a month and convert to the bundle or the annual, we are giving away $300 each week leading up to NFL. $150 to someone who converts, $150 to someone who signs up new. But even if you just want to get it on the monthly, that $59 is going up on the Monday Night Football, which is September 11th, 2023, where it's going to go up, and it's going to be $69 a month for the monthly. The merch will be in soon. Mark asked about the SHIPIT hats. Spoiler alert. Yeah, stuff is coming very soon. That will be live on the site.
Very soon.
Yeah, we'll have everybody taken care of. You'll get an email about it if you're supposed to, for the original offer and everything set up. But after that, it'll be a free-for-all after the first 2 weeks of the original members getting in. After that, everyone will get one crack at the can there. It'll be open for everyone. And then we have some custom pieces coming out in the future as well. Hoop, anything else you want to add before we get out of here? Final thoughts for this PGA season as we go to this last event?
Yeah, fun event, obviously, no cut 30 guys. I mean, everyone's going to have live team for the most part, unless you make some crazy fades. Everyone's going to have live teams more times than not going into round 4. Have fun with it. One thing I did want to say, if you just watch our PGA stuff, we appreciate all your support this season. I mean, all your support. And, we're going to come back better than ever next season as well. But make sure you check us out for the other sports. We have our MLB show coming up. We have obviously MMA shows on Friday, and then NFL is right around the corner. We did the spiel at the beginning. Now's the time to get in. Multiple plans. If you want to get on monthly, you want to get on the 6-month package, or you want to get on the annual package, getting in now is the cheapest price it's going to be. Everything goes up once NFL starts. So make sure to get in now. No need to wait. Get in now. Join us. Make sure you get in the Discord, and let's continue to go out there and ship it.
Yeah, if you haven't done so yet, do us a favor on the way out. Hit that like button. Like Hoop said, we appreciate all that support throughout the season. Subscribe to the channel. All of our shows here are free. That's one keynote. There is no premium shows. So everything you want as far as the show content on this channel, just subscribe, hit that little notification bell. You'll be able to get those notifications when they come out and just watch them as you please. But during NFL, we'll have you covered here. A bunch of free shows, some short ones, some quick hitters, all that stuff. Again, like Hoop said, thank you guys so much. Good luck this week in the Tour Championship. Have some fun with it. We'll be back for more in the swing season. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.